Hey everyone, and welcome back. This is episode 101 of the Coffee Table podcast. Easy for me to say. I am Jason Klink, your host, my co-host Bob Kahn, and today you can see we have two familiar faces that are back on the podcast. Hue and Jackie Hanks both have been on the podcast. Or Hue was on early on in the podcast, and Jackie was part of the roundtable edition of the podcast. So, guys, welcome. Thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So, besides being one of my favorite couples and next door neighbors, I wanted Hugh and Jackie to come on because of their background in fitness and nutrition. Jackie is a dietitian at one of the local hospitals here in Syracuse. Both Hugh and Jackie are fitness enthusiasts and participate in the metabolic gym here locally in Syracuse. And Jackie got tagged in by the gym to do a lot of nutrition training for their membership. And if you look up Hugh and Jackie on Instagram and look at some of the, first of all, their workouts are insane. But if you look at the workouts, if it's you can really see a lot of motivation, determination, purpose, and that kind of rolls into why we're here. So we're here because, I like to do this podcast at the beginning of every year based on, the whole old adage of New Year's resolutions. And, a lot of people will say, well, I want to lose 30 pounds in the new year. Or I want to get back to the gym in the new year, but they never really make it quantifiable or measurable and say, I want to, lose 30 pounds by June so I can fit into my bathing suit again or whatever it might be. So why not bring a couple of the local experts onto the podcast to kind of sort through resolutions and are they fact or fiction, and how you can stay determined when it gets to be March and April and you're like tired. You don't want to go to the gym anymore and you don't want to meal prep anymore. And I just don't want to do this anymore. Jackie, you really dove into the nutrition content that you're making for metabolic. How did that start, and what is the basis of the content, or what goes into making that each and every time?
So that was something that, as part of working with them as an independent contractor, was to help with the social media and be kind of the face of the program. They had a macro program prior to me, and since it definitely has taken a different change to more so a lifestyle approach, to where we're trying to focus on, yes, the program might be a 6-week challenge. However, we're looking to extend it beyond the 6 weeks. So it's part of your life. You're not just losing and gaining the same amount of weight, or you're gaining muscle and then you're plateauing. We're trying to look at the long game, to where it can be something that you're consistent with. If you took a break from it, you can come back, but you're not starting over every time. So it's really focusing on changing behaviors, changing habits, making new routines that are not just going to be for that 6 weeks or 8 weeks or however long you stick with it. So I'm excited about the avenue, or the way that we've shifted with the mindset. So a lot of my coaching is with that through them. And then also I will do the Instagram. So trying to really tell people information about protein and the scale and measures beyond the scale. How do we know we're making progress in the gym, outside of the gym? Looking at your fixed mindset versus your growth mindset. So it's looking at the person as a whole and trying to educate not only just the nutrition part of things, but how our behaviors and our mindset can certainly drive the ship as well.
Yeah, I think that people kind of miss the whole holistic part of, making that change in your life, making yourself healthier, being more fit, eating right, extending your longevity in life, because it's not infinite. And nope. So, and Hugh, I think there was a time, wasn't there a time where you really kind of waned off of being at the gym all the time and you were working so much and so on, and how difficult was it to get back into it?
It was sometimes you need that time away to kind of appreciate your time there. So it was at first, it started off great because it gave me some time to heal all my wounds and stuff. But then after a while, you start missing the people and then the routine.
Yeah.
Like for
Yeah.
me, with working out, I would only work out on days that I work. So I'm working
Oh,
all the
yeah.
time, so I'd be working out all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
So so just having that break was necessary to, set new goals.
Hmm.
But getting back, I can get back into a proper a routine that I missed.
Right, and I think routine is big with that, and Bob and I actually we had connected through a coaching program, and routine was a lot of it, and Bob and I would talk about the importance of a start and an end to the day, and incorporating that self care and that healthy end of
Yeah.
things.
When I have well, I'm working out now on a regular basis. That started out because I thought I had diabetes. I don't, yay. But the one thing I've never lost is, oh God, I got to get up and work out. Once I'm working out, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Another part that's the hardest.
Yep.
But I have found in my life, it does become routine, and it's okay if you don't want to work out that day. Your body's not going to go and used to be if I didn't feel like working out, all of a sudden the next time because I work out every other day, and the other day comes and you go, well, what's one more day going to be, and what's one more day? And what I found is now that I've been doing it consistently, day in and day out, especially during the holidays, um, is that I don't have that. I still wake up going, I don't want to wake up, but I still have no problem getting back in. When you took your break, did you have a problem getting back into it? Was it hard or was it just natural?
Oh, Hugh, you're muted.
You're muted.
All right. So yeah, funny you say that. Today was actually my first day back. I haven't been back since like Thanksgiving. So from Thanksgiving to now, I think that's like 6 weeks or so. I didn't work out, but yeah, coming back, it was exciting, but I was kind of worried because it's high intensity. I,
Well, and you were coming back from an injury too.
yeah, I was coming back from multiple
That's different.
injuries. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I was
and it
just waiting and waiting and
waiting
waiting.
to heal.
So yeah, so I was just waiting for my body to tell me that it was okay, but
Yeah.
it was okay. So today when I worked out today, I did well. I was like my muscles were a little fatigued and getting fatigued early, but other than that, I was fine. But I'm still taking it slow.
Yeah. Yeah. Which,
That's the part I forget. you know,
Yeah, take it
yeah.
slow.
Well, I
we
was just gonna say,
don't start off with the 100 pounds.
yeah.
No.
And I was just thinking the same thing because I have an issue with my shoulder that I'm not smart enough to stop, even though I've been trying to take it easy because I have inflammation and tendonitis. I guess I've been told between the bicep tendon and the pectoral tendon that goes into my shoulder. And it doesn't matter how much I ice it, how much I thump it out with the massager gun and I'll stretch it. It's hard. It's hard to get that to build back up because, I can do certain weight in my left arm, but my right is just like, oh no, you're not doing that today.
Just too.
Um, yeah, yeah.
Jackie has some remedies.
Do I? Remedies. We do now. We call this year Christmas was the year of rehab because we purchased a couple different like hyper ice things, our own like home cupping, which I love to hate it. I think in the moment it is not my favorite, but afterwards I felt a lot better. But we do now trying to really focus on what we can do prior to the gym to really get warmed up. We're going in there cold in the morning and kind of like jumping in for the most part. So trying to do some things before and afterwards to really take care of ourselves and realizing, our mobility needs a little bit of improvement. We should serve our first round as a solid warm up round, especially now because we don't, not that we don't, I mean, we don't want injuries, but we can't afford injuries. We want to be able to continue to push ourselves. And Hugh having to take his time off was eye-opening because I am one to push through. I don't even know what hurts anymore sometimes. I think if something hurts more than my chronic injury, I'll tend to focus on that. But then if something else is different, it's not so bad. So it just like moves around my body. And I don't think I have much of an off switch.
You don't say.
So trying to take a step back, because I know for me, this has become such an important routine for me, mentally and physically, that I wouldn't lose motivation through the year. But if I got hurt or injured, that could really have some pretty rough implications for me. I think mentally more so than even physically.
Do you think it's the mindset why people give up by like March and April, and think the workout and the routine starts becoming negotiable?
I think sometimes people, because it's your reason why. Why are you doing it? Are you doing it just to lose those 20 pounds? Are you doing it because you want to all of a sudden gain 10 pounds of muscle in the shortest amount of time possible? I think looking at it more as a long-term game. Like we said, you're doing this for your life, for your lifestyle, longevity, thinking about where this is taking you beyond just the first few months. But I think a lot of people will start off the year ready to go with that one goal in mind: the weight loss, fitting in a dress, building muscle, but they're not looking at the journey. We talk about, like at Metabolic, they'll talk about like riding the wave or something, to where it's a process. It's not just where you're at in one moment in time, but enjoying all the steps working up to where you want to be. People don't always appreciate that. I think they want to just jump right in and have everything right away. You snap, in 6 weeks, you got your goal met. Instead of trying to take it day by day with the different things that we do. Consistency, like you said, Bob, being consistent with your routine, adding to it, and not always what you can take away. I'm huge with what you can add to your life, not what you can take away during this process.
That's why diet, I tell you, we should all invent the diet for the strict purpose of becoming rich.
Right?
I mean, some of those diets, I did Atkins about 20 years ago. It works. But
Hey,
it was so new, they didn't know what the long-term effect was. Well, they do now.
Right.
It's not good. There's so many things they don't. We've had podcasts about that they don't teach in school. Health programs in my high school, which wasn't yesterday.
Despite your youthful looks.
Yes, and my premature gray hair.
Yes, that's right.
Was they tried sex, but they gave up on that because what are we 14 and giggling, and so that should be part of it. Have 6 weeks of how to extend your life, how to appreciate your life, how to do what's best in your own best interest. Instead, we all ate sugar pops or sugar flake, which was great at the time, but the results you see later on, and it makes it a lot more difficult at an older age, especially my age, to get in and to get in. Now, I'm not sure that I would have gotten into the working out habit had I not been a little bit fearful. When the doctor says, "Oh, you got a high A1C," which I didn't even know what that was.
Right.
And for those of you who don't, it means you got diabetes if it's over 7 or on the verge of. So sugar is probably, what would you say, one of the worst things that people eat?
I think it'd be more so the added sugar, but unfortunately, because there's such a fear, and I would say they took a shift from where you said, growing up, you didn't really have a whole lot of knowledge about what would be best for your body, what we should do in moderation. Instead, we took this shift to fat-free everything, fear of gaining weight, fear of this, fear of that, doing tons of cardio. It took a shift, because I know growing up in my household, that was it. Aerobics, low fat this, low fat that. Things taste like cardboard sometimes when you're trying to follow a diet. So a lot of people my age grew up with that. And it's very hard for us to not focus on the scale as the indicator of our success at the end of the day. Like if we weigh the same, we keep our lowest weight, we're doing something. But instead, looking at what we can do if we're trying to lift weights, if we're trying to get stronger, if we're trying to keep up our bone density, that number on the scale isn't going to be as important. And looking at where we can have that moderation, 80-20, 85-15, however you want to look at it, that's going to help at the end of the day. But there's so many things out there that are extremes. But I would say added sugar, kind of reeling it back in, is more so something we'd want to look at than having people be fearful of bread or fruit or rice or potato, because these are things that we can incorporate into our diet that can be beneficial. I'm a certified diabetes care and education specialist as well. So with my work day to day, I work with people who have pre-diabetes all the way to diabetes, insulin pumps, complex insulin regimens. So I do try to still preach that similarly with them, because what it is learning about grams of carbs, learning about how to balance them throughout the day, because they're going to still do, at the end of the day, people will do what they want to do. Unless, like you had mentioned, there's that fear, or it becomes bigger. It's, I want to live to see my grandchildren. I want to be able to walk. I want to be able to see, because we know as diabetes advances, if it is not well controlled, it can affect all of our organ systems. But some people don't see that right away because it's so far in the future. It's not right in front of them.
I had my accountant who died from diabetes, or the results of diabetes. I mean, from the first time I met him to 20 years later when he died, I mean, he started getting holes in his body from it eating at him. He could barely walk. And it scared me that as soon as the doctor said, by the way, I went, oh my God. So it was not difficult. So my mindset changed like that. And before we got on the air, the mindset is part of it, whether it's working out, Hugh, and desiring to work out, dieting. The problem is, who do you trust?
Right.
Most people don't know somebody like you.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful thing. I asked my doctor, who spent 4 years in medical school, 4 years, I said, okay, what should I eat and what I can't eat? He goes, look it up. What?
Wow.
What? Yeah, Google it. I said, no. Would you skip that class?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, they have one class most of the time, and that is one of the ones that they pushed way back. So I kind of appreciate that he didn't throw out like, oh, we'll just go low carb, or just say like, cut out this, and this. But what would have been really helpful is if he had a dietitian that he could recommend you to see as part of his practice. And that is where, me working for the VA, I'm very grateful that they have a certified diabetes care and education specialist. They have registered dietitians, so that the PAC teams can refer to us for that. As the experts of nutrition, it makes sense. I wouldn't make recommendations for medications or other treatments. I said, talk to your doctor, but I stay in my lane and definitely want to give them the best care and recommendations, working with them. That's the other thing. I could tell you, oh, we'll do this, and this, but I need to know where you're coming in, what knowledge you have, what you're doing already, what type of triggers you have in terms of food. It's a whole, again, looking at someone as the whole picture, and not just, oh, you have diabetes. No, you're not a diabetic. You are a person with diabetes. And that is important to recognize with anyone you're working with.
It's interesting. I'm old enough to remember the 1950s. And we used to get delivered to us, besides the milk. You may still have it up in Syracuse. You get a lot of farms around there, I think. Haven't been there in a while. But we used to have soda delivered the same time from the same company. And it was real sugar, cane sugar. I didn't get fat. And we had I didn't drink it like kids do today with all the crap. But all through the 50s and into the 60s, everything was fresh. Mm-hmm. Before that, you didn't have a lot of it, unless there was some organic reason for being fat, obese. You didn't have it. Why? Because every day grandma or ma had to go shopping to there wasn't a grocery store. It was this guy, that guy, this guy. And I think the just the government doesn't do enough to stop this stuff. You know,
Yeah.
why is it that when they came out with the diet sodas, I think Tab was the first one. I think I don't know what they used to make the artificial sugar, but then you have all the the acetaminophen. And acetaminophen, that's aspirin.
Yeah, pain reliever.
What's the big one they use in diet sodas and stuff now?
Aspartame.
Aspartame. They were close. They didn't do any study on it. Oh, it's good. It's going to take care of you. Oh yeah, by the way, it ends up in your kidneys, your liver, or wherever it goes. It never goes away. Kind of like Advil, yeah. But the studies that are done, unfortunately, it seems to be being done by the companies rather than independent people saying this is not good for you.
Yeah,
it's funny that you say that, because I was just thinking, I knew a guy a while back that was into bodybuilding, and he used to say, I don't put anything in my body if it has more than 3 or 4 ingredients. And I was like, wow, that must take a lot of label reading. But Jackie and Hue, what are some of like the fad diets, fly by night stuff that you've seen that people kind of take a hold of, and they really don't do the research, and they don't see the results, so they stop everything?
Right. Absolutely. I wanted to dive into one thing about like the artificial sweeteners too.
Yeah.
The one thing, they're doing there's definitely more research out there now, but there's a lot of fear out there as well. So the people that want you to eat more regular sugar will say, well, if you eat this, it's going to give you cancer and you're going to die. Now, these studies are often done in rats. So we realize that the amount that we would need is different than those. But again, moderation. Do I want all of my diabetic patients, people with diabetes, to have 2 liters of soda a day, if it's diet or not? No. I want you to get a good variety. I want you to drink more water. But if you're going to drink a soda and we're concerned about your weight and we're concerned about your blood sugar, I'm absolutely going to say, if you don't like seltzer water, then we'll go with diet soda. But if you get any GI side effects from it, we're going to stop it. But most of the time they're safe. But there's a lot of fear around ingredients. There's a lot of fear around GMOs. There's a lot of fear about things that people don't know how to pronounce, and sometimes they're just for freshness, or it's a vitamin, or so I think that the more that we put that fear out there for people, the more they limit what they can eat, and they can't sustain this box here. When we focus on eating more quality for ourselves, at 80-20, 20% of the time, whatever we're including, whether it's helping for our mental health, it's helping because it's something we enjoy, that's going to be balanced versus shifting from one extreme to the next extreme and you're just kind of yo-yoing back and forth. The one thing, especially during the holidays, there was no need for me. I love my grandma's like plain cake, and my brother made it, and I ate more pieces than maybe I intended to. But again, for me, making that cake lighter or healthier is not the same, because the memory is tied to the fact that that's my grandma's recipe. So I'm not going to do that, because food is more than just fuel all the time. Food does keep us alive, but food is memory, it's relationships, it's culture. So there are things that we want to have for balance in our lives, and we can do that because I'm not eating my grandma's cake every week for 6 weeks.
That's right. I mean, if we all ate, I'm almost said like normal people, I'm not even sure what that means. But I'll give you, for instance, we get those packages of food that you cook, but it's a specific meal, like 600 calories.
Mm-hmm.
Hello Fresh, I think, is the name of it.
Yes. Yep.
The beauty of it is there's no leftovers. There's just enough for 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is sometimes, wow, that was great, I want more. Oh, there isn't any more? But see, if we were taught at an early age, for instance, eat until you're full, whether it's the first bite or the last bite, but don't get the seconds and the thirds every time. If you want seconds once in a while, fine. We tend as humans to go overboard on everything. you know, and then we complain about, geez, I can't work out because I don't feel good or I'm too fat. And I'm not talking about obese because obese is, they finally figured out, hey, guess what? It's a disease. You know,
Yeah.
treat it as a disease.
Yep.
But I'm talking about the people who will sit there and they'll sit there, and I've done it, stuff your face with potato chips watching TV, eat candy, you know, forget Halloween. From Halloween to the end of the year was my disaster time.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know,
You, me both. You, me
you buy
both.
enough candy for the neighborhood and nobody shows. Well, somebody got to eat this
Somebody's
stuff.
got to eat it. I got a bowl of candy upstairs the kids haven't eaten yet that I keep staring at that I'm trying to ignore.
You know, and then, you know, and then you go to the gym. You don't have the energy to go to the gym, and then you do a half-ass workout every day, and you don't understand why you're not going forward. So you quit, right? You,
The
people
cycle.
right? They start January 1st, January 2nd, and you don't see them after March because of that.
Yeah. Hugh, you're going to jump in?
Yeah. I always believe that we can train our stomachs, you know. So
Yeah.
if you're for say a month time and you're just eating one portion, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner with some things in between, you kind of get used to like how much food you're eating and how much food you almost need. So you can train your stomach and your mind based on that. So if I am sitting down and I'm eating chips, there's like a cutoff.
Yeah.
Like in my mind, somewhere there's
Yep.
a cutoff somewhere that is like, yeah, I already had enough. I'm just gonna tie the bag back and
Put it away.
put it away. And then with me personally, with working out, I work out 6 days a week, so I can pretty much eat whatever I want.
Sure.
Because when I am working out, I'm trying to go harder than anybody else that's there.
Yeah.
With Jackie included. I'm trying to go harder than Jackie.
That's a tough train to catch.
And so that's a high bar, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like I could eat pretty much anything I want. And I don't take a lot of supplements. Last year I just started pre-workout. I might do protein here and there if I remember. And only done
You don't do a lot of that. See, I'm surprised by that because I figured you guys, especially you, Hugh, would be on protein and supplements and vitamins and Vitapacks or whatever to be able to maintain what you're doing.
No, so I like to defy the odds. That's me. That's what gets me going.
Okay. Well, he has a really good chef in the house that bakes some stuff.
Yeah, Ramsey is great.
Right.
You also have to put genes in there. You also have good genes.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny though, because you think about that too, and I think that if you put two people together from the same family, if you're doing different things though, not eating the same way, not getting the right amount of sleep, you know, limiting alcohol, getting the right amount of nutrition, your bodies will look completely different. Which is so environment definitely. Genes do play a role. I never would say they wouldn't, but environment is huge.
And work ethic.
And work ethic.
You know, because me and my siblings look totally different, like body composition, but just because I go that much harder.
But the funny thing is that Hugh and I, and this is just the impact of environment, have similar body types. Our environment is the same, but I wouldn't say that we all.
You're living in the same house has that effect.
Yeah, that's synergistic effect.
Yeah, it's funny. Before my wife is a retired teacher. She retired about a year and a half ago. I would say, I'm going down to exercise. You give me the face. And I said, well, why don't you walk? Walk? Where am I going? I'm going to walk around up there. Now, she exercises 6 days a week. She does Zumba. She does stretching. She does all cardio. And I'm laughing. And she's walking all over the place. She can outwalk me anytime. Yeah. And I just laugh how things switch in the mind. And that's what you need to keep it constant.
Yeah.
And you don't know when to come.
Does your wife go to like a Zumba class, or she does it at home?
Well, she does right now. It's just at home, but she would go to 2 or 3 different outside Zumba classes.
I think that's what changed.
The same teacher for a long time, so she has the social aspect of it.
Yes.
Me, I work out in my basement. And the
Yeah,
funny
me
thing
too.
is, and when you get Medicare, some of the programs have what they call silver sneakers,
Mm-hmm.
gives you free memberships. So I immediately, as soon as I went on Medicare, I went over to what used to be Bally's and now it's 24-hour fitness. And I signed up. I was all excited. I haven't been there yet, and that's a year and a half ago.
Oh,
But I work out. I do work out. I've been thinking, I think I'm going to get out of the house more. I'm going to go to the gym. I keep thinking I don't do on that, but at least I haven't stopped working out.
right.
Yeah,
No, that's
yeah.
good. Yeah, sorry, Jason. I know you asked about a diet, so we can segue back to
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah.
bad diets. The biggest one more recently that has been a little controversial was the carnivore diet. Um, the Liver King popularized it because he was saying, you just eat meat basically, and you get all this protein, and you're going to look just like me. And come to find out, this man was on steroids. So you will not look like him
Oh,
eating just
wow.
meat. You will probably be constipated and sad and tired. You will lose weight though if you're only eating meat, because think about it. You're only eating X amount of calories, and you'll get fuller faster from the protein, from the fat in what you're eating. But yeah, so steroids were a big part of his recipe for that. Keto is still popular. I would say I went to battle with my comments on one of my TikToks actually with someone about the ketogenic diet. And again, to each their own. Sometimes it can be a nice jump start. So somebody starting right now, they could start by reducing their carbohydrate intake pretty significantly. It may affect their performance in the gym, but what it does is, so when you cut out a whole food group, especially carbohydrates hold on to water. So your initial weight loss is water weight, but it's going to look pretty drastic. The interesting thing is there's been studies to where they'll compare the keto diet to a regular calorie restriction. The keto diet takes off first, but then at the end of the day, they end up in the same place.
Wow.
It also depends on consistency with the program, because at the heart of all of it, it's a calorie deficit. You're putting yourself in a calorie deficit or a restriction that is supporting gradual weight loss. But because people don't love that, most of the time we want to look at 1/2 to 2 pounds a week at the most, they want to lose it the quickest possible. So they'll go on those plans that are marketed as, lose 30 pounds in 6 weeks, lose, 18 inches. And like, they're very extreme. And there's a reason, because they're going to put you either on a very extreme exercise regimen, probably not enough calories, or both. And then you'll lose the weight. That's why you can't stick with it, because it's going to be difficult when life does happen. Work gets busy. You can't follow that plan. You can't afford those meals anymore. What did you learn to apply yourself?
Right.
Oh.
What would you say would be, like, I've been trying to stick to a 25 gram milligram, whatever, carbo a day, because I really wanted to make sure that the A1C came back to normal. But somebody who, I'm not as active as I should be, but I do work out. I go up and down. I'm in a townhouse, so I go up and down flights of stairs all the time. What would you say that would be a normal amount of carb intake above that 25?
Yeah. So typically we'll stick to 30 to 75 grams per meal, and that would be individualized on the person. Also, we could go as low as 15, but it depends on what medications or if they're on insulin. So in your case, not being on any, you could do as low as 15 grams a meal, but I would not go under like 120 grams a day, somewhere between 120 and 150. But think about where that's coming from. So it's not just, all bread or all candy. You're getting fruit, you're getting vegetables, you're getting yogurt, you're getting a variety of food that also can give you protein and calcium and other micronutrients, potassium, magnesium. Think about that. Think about what the carbs for you would be more higher in fiber. And I would say the same thing to someone who's trying to lose weight is if we can get in those carbohydrates that are also higher in fiber, that's going to help us feel fuller longer. That's going to help our blood sugar. That's going to help our cholesterol. That's going to keep us regular. There's a lot of, it's good for our gut. It's all going to tie in there, but complete avoidance, really reducing it. But I totally understand where you came from, because that's very scary to be told, like, you now have diabetes. Sorry, like,
Yeah, no, it's amazing what fear will do for you. But it's funny, as weird as this can sound, I am very grateful that it happened. It turns out I had a kidney issue back in January of last year, and I was on steroids for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And the doctor, I can't blame the doctor. He did say certain things are going to happen. One is the possibility of the A1C going up. But I stopped taking the steroids like in April. This was September when he said this. And I also have a cardiologist. I actually have two. I'm special. Yeah. And when I was telling him what was going on, he goes, well, you remember that you had the steroids in the spring? I went, yeah. He goes, it's probably residual. I went, oh, thank God.
Right.
But it didn't stop. The old me would have gone, oh, good, I can go back and have ice cream. No.
Yeah.
I like what it has done to my body.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that I'm wearing 34 pants, not 36, 38 pants.
Mm-hmm.
And I have energy. So that's what keeps me going. I'm not trying to become a bodybuilder because I don't have that kind of body. You go to the gym and you see these guys that walk around like this, right? And showing off their bodies. And I hear people going, that's what I want to look like. Good luck. You don't know what he's doing besides weightlifting,
Yeah. And it's almost a good segue into, I was sitting here thinking about how, Jackie, you do a lot of content on macros and micros and meal prep.
Mm-hmm.
And you both are very religious about getting that done each and every week. And I've done the whole meal prep, meal plan thing. After a while, to me, it's very time consuming. So what are your tips and tricks when it comes to getting the right macros and micros and meal prep and that taking that lifestyle change and applying it?
Absolutely. So I would say first, working with a certified coach, a registered dietitian, someone who could help guide you with a plan. Other than that, I would say for me, a lot of times I'll make a plan for the week in my mind, like 2 proteins, 2 vegetables, 2 starches. And that's what I will start with for the main meal. And then make sure I have things like, I just recently found a cottage cheese I enjoy, which I'm very excited about. But like yogurt, vegetables, fruit, cut things up ahead of time so that you have them. Because I can tell you, vegetables will rot in our fridge if I don't cut them up first. For whatever reason, it's like too much work to cut up a pepper or a cucumber and take it with me if it's already there. Like yesterday, we had a leftover veggie platter, and Hugh and I just had it in a side with our dinner and didn't even think twice about the vegetables. We had double, maybe even triple the amount of vegetables in, and we were satisfied with what we had. And that's the idea of those types of high volume, low calorie items added into the plan. They add those micronutrients, but also can help you feel fuller longer. But I would say that's my biggest thing is I will plan those 2 meals essentially, and then we can alternate them through the week. I try to do that on Sunday most of the time. For breakfast, if we did like overnight oats, or we'll take like bagel and peanut butter and a protein shake, and that will be sufficient to carry us through to the next meal. I usually take the prepped meal with me to lunch because of my work schedule. I'm home to have dinner, and then Hugh takes it with him in the evening since he works in the evening hours. So
Are you guys still measuring out all of your nutrients in the food that you're intaking?
I do that for the main meal. But let's say I don't have the opportunity to do this. I do something it's the plate method essentially. So if you divide your plate completely in half your plate would be non-starchy vegetables, about the size of a deck of cards for your protein, and then about a fistful for your starch. So I will do that as well. So that ends up being roughly about 2 cups of vegetables, then your protein, and then your baked potato or your cup of rice, whatever you end up putting there. So then I could pretty much estimate where that would be without weighing and measuring when we were in a crunch.
Mhm.
And you can
Now,
do
Hugh,
that with casserole too, essentially. If you
and I was going to ask you, do you find it difficult to stick to the regimen, or to be able to prep your meals going, working in the evening and having a different schedule than a 9 to 5?
Not really. Jackie does a real good job. So then I kind of get used to. I work till like 11 at night, so I kind of get used to what time I'm starting to get hungry.
No, okay.
So it's usually somewhere between like 7 and 8, and that's fine because I'm up till 12:30 anyways.
Okay.
I can, but it's not too bad because of Jackie and Jackie. Just I think this is the question that people want to hear your answer to. How many carbs did you put me on when we did our macro?
Oh, you were at over 300. 325?
Wow.
325?
I didn't gain weight. I
No, but
lost
your
it.
calorie needs are like 30, 32.
Yeah, your calorie needs are way more than the
But-
normal human.
But I will tell you
People
mine.
always
Um,
always zero in on
and
carbs.
everybody's is very individualized, but my carbs, I started at 240, and I will say more recently I had upped them to like 250, 260, because if I'm doing a double workout, or if I'm going to need this, and I know there's some days, and that's where having a flexible carb and fat goal is nice, because there are some days I might want more and some days I might want less, but keeping my calories equated is going to help me stay on track.
What kind of carbs are you eating? Yeah, because I didn't hear you say, yeah, well, I'll have a gallon of ice cream and I'll have 4 pounds of pasta.
Exactly. No. And so big on baked sweet potatoes, brown rice, quinoa, bananas. We do bagels. It helps me in the morning to like not be a dead person at work after the workout. Whole wheat bread. We do naan. We do actually, I love these low carb tortillas, and I'm not, again, so this is another thing. I'm not going to say, oh, you need to eat these low carb tortillas, but I stumbled upon them at Costco. They're like 7 grams of protein, 8 grams of fiber, and they're delicious. They don't taste like cardboard. So it's a great way for me to get in some fiber. So I love those for breakfast burritos, or even just like roll it up with peanut butter for a snack. We do Greek yogurt. I love popcorners, so I have popcorners. I take them with me. A bag from Costco. These are things, Cheez-Its. We enjoy Cheez-Its every once in a while and have them but that's, again, the balance. Like, and if I want ice cream for me, I usually will want to do something like a Yasso bar or something that's already pre-portioned, because I know that I could sit there with the ice cream and spoon out more than I want.
Yep.
So
Not even take it out of the box or start eating.
Start eating.
just make the conscious decision for something that might be a trigger for me to have it in a way that I can have it and move forward, or make some of our own treats like energy bites with protein powder and honey and dark chocolate chips, trying to find some different ways. Oatmeal is a big staple too for our carbs. So
Now, are you guys on a regimen of like eating every 2 hours, or do you eat when you're hungry, or how do you break up the day?
I typically will eat more frequently than he does, I believe. But I'll have a breakfast, and then I'll have second breakfast, and then I'll have lunch, and then I'll have a snack, and then I'll have dinner typically. But sometimes I'm not hungry, or sometimes I'm busy during the day, so I miss my snack, and then I'll have dinner and a snack later. So I really just listen to how I'm feeling. When I am tracking, I will pre-log a lot. So if I pre-log dinner or pre-log things that I know that I'm going to have, you can always delete it if you don't, but that allows me to see where I'm at. So I'm not just stuck trying to get in 80 grams of protein at 8:00 at night.
What do you mean by pre-log?
So in my log, let's say dinner. So when I plan out the dinners, if I'm doing a really strict macro meal, I will weigh it out. So we'll know that this amount of meal altogether is X amount of grams, and a 320 gram portion is this. So I'll have that in my recipe in my app, and then I'll add that to what I'm already going to have for the day. Okay. I know I'm always going to have that because I already made it for the week. So that's where I will pre-log it into, whether it's my Fitness Pal or Chronometer or whatever you use. So then I also know what I'm working with. Same thing when it was like Christmas parties, or I wanted to have a piece of cake, or I knew that we were having something, I would pre-log to the best of my ability that ahead of time. So again, I know what I'm working with for the rest of the day. When I used to pick Tay up from gymnastics and I knew sometimes she would want to go to Dairy Queen, I already knew what my small cone with vanilla or vanilla with rainbow sprinkles was going to be. So I would pre-log that on the day, knowing that this is already in here because I'm not going to miss it. Because I also didn't want to be the parent that's like, oh, well, I can't have that. Especially with a gymnast in the car who does benefit from these extra calories, who needs to understand that balance and that food freedom, especially in a sport like that, where weight is still scrutinized. I think it's better, but image is a thing. There's a lot of people and different conversations out there. So you don't want to be the one fueling that restrictive, fixed mindset.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So to kind of bring this back around, because it's a lot of great information and people are going to kind of dive into this, but I'll ask, I got one question for Jackie, one question for Hue. Jackie, for people that want to get started, they want to get started on a healthier lifestyle, that holistic approach, what's their best first step going into the rest of this year?
I would say downloading an app to track and start to track what you're doing right now. See where you're at for a few weeks in terms of the quality of your diet, the calories you're consuming, because we're not likely exponentially gaining weight. We are likely stagnant. And that would at least give you a good understanding of what your maintenance calories are at the moment, including the weekend. So not like, sticking to this plan during the week and then pretending like the weekend doesn't happen, whether it's alcohol, it's social gatherings. Trying to be as honest with yourself as possible will give you a good starting point. And then if you want to dive in, even again, think about the plate method, adding more vegetables to your meals, half your plate vegetables, making sure you're having a fruit or a vegetable with each meal. That's just very simple things that they can add in over time and be consistent with.
Awesome. Good stuff. Hugh, I wanted to ask you, going back to the whole injury thing and coming back from an injury, what's your best direction on, how slow do you get back into it? Do you just start with cardio, or, especially for somebody that maybe they were used to lifting weights and or doing HIIT, but they're worried about a shoulder or a knee or a hip or, something like that?
All right. So when you're out, make sure you're working on what hurts, like gaining, like a lot of stretching and working on your flexibility and your mobility. That was huge for me, just, expanding that. And that was like one of the only methods that I used during my time out. And like, especially stretching.
Yeah.
It's important to stretch. We don't, a lot of people don't do stretching as much as they need to. Some people do it before, some people do it before and after, some people do it after, but some people don't do it at all.
Right.
And I was like one of those people that just did it a little bit just before. But now I know I need to like increase my time, because that's when the injuries start to occur.
That was probably one of the
and bad technique.
Oh, yeah. And not to cut you off, but that was one of the best things I learned in the last couple of years, was making sure, because, at almost 50 years old, it takes a little longer to get going. And especially working out in the morning, it takes, Bob's laughing because I'm a young guy he tells me all the time.
You're right.
Right. But well, here's the equation too, which is the funny part is, so my wife is 10 and a half years younger than me. So she can come down and get going, just go and get in the workout. Me, I'm like, hang on. I got to lengthen things out here a little bit. Otherwise this is not going to be good.
It's true.
And I think you said it, flexibility, mobility, strength, not strengthening, but stretching everything out, knowing you, I think is the biggest thing. And that way you avoid hurting yourself.
I agree. So like my shoulder, I've been doing a lot of band things for my shoulder.
Oh, okay.
And now I can do like almost anything that I can. I can do almost anything that I want.
Ramsey's making an appearance.
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah.
I could do almost anything that I want, but I still feel it a little bit, but my
Yeah.
range is a little bit better.
Gotcha.
He
Good
did though.
stuff.
He went to put his bag behind us while we were driving today. When he grabbed something out, he hit me right in the head. So he's working on that range of motion. It stopped right where my head was.
I didn't stretch yet.
Stretch it.
I was like, oh, we're ready. But no, yeah, Ramsey's trying to build up his followers again, so
You see him?
trying to make an appearance.
That's
But
awesome.
there is a lack of knowledge out there with, you know, nutrition that we, like Bob said, we never learned about while growing up, and it can go hand in hand with like finances.
Yes.
Things like, you know, you can put fitness and, you know, and financial in the same sentence almost with anything, because you need to like figure out what you want. You need to make goals. You need to budget your time. You know, there's a lot of comparisons between the two.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. This is all great stuff, and like I said, it's been a lot of information. But you know, if you're watching this podcast, or you know, you're watching it down the road, feel free to reach out to Jackie and Hue. They'd be, I'm sure, happy to answer questions that you have. Jackie does a lot of content for Metabolic Gym, of course. But you know, going into 2023 and beyond, you know, take that holistic approach, change your mindset, understand that you can put things off and keep putting them off, but then they fester bigger problems, especially if you already have certain things.
Absolutely.
I think they also have to understand why they're doing what they're doing, whether it's diet.
Yeah.
I hate that word dieting. Changing their dietary program, working out, because if you don't have the reason why, what's going to happen is what happens to every gym across the nation. It's packed in January and early February and at night. But if you go there in the middle of March at 2 PM, there's nobody in there.
Yeah. Yep.
No, reason why it's important. Your motivation, your reason is got to be big and important to you. Whether, like you said, something that might scare you at first, but something that there's a bigger reason than something on the surface, and it has to be important to you, not to someone else or how you look to someone else. It's for you, because that's going to keep you going. That is going to drive the ship forward, and seeking out the right help, the right support system. Whether it's your friend, your spouse, it's a coach, it's getting someone to also be in your corner that's invested in it for you, that you're working together to that end goal.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
don't be afraid to try new things, because new things ends up becoming older things, you know. So then you have room to make newer things that you can achieve. So like, I get home from work late, and I for many years I made the excuse that I couldn't work out because Jackie wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to sleep after midnight every day. But for the past year and a half, I've been waking up early at 5 a.m. to go to the gym. But that was my excuse.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That was my excuse.
That's easy to make, because
I
for years, you know, I would work out at Planet Fitness, but I'd work out because I was working 3 to 11. You know, in the afternoon, you know, I'd go to the gym at 11 a.m. or, you know, somewhere around maybe 1 p.m. before I went to work. But then hours changed to whatever, and the only time that I really had time to work out was early in the morning. And I kept saying, there is no way that I'm getting up at 5 a.m. to go work out. I can't do it. But once you get into the routine and it's part of the day, and you're getting good sleep, you're getting good rest. So when you get up at 5 a.m., it's easier to get going. So it is possible. My wife even used to say the same thing. She goes, I don't know if I could do that. Now she does it every day because she has the need. There's no other hours in the day to get it in. And if she waits until 3 or 4 in the afternoon, she'll get busy with the kids or whatever might be going on, and won't do it. So she recognized that, well, 5 a.m. is it, because that's the only hour of the day that it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's peaceful.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's nice. I mean, with our group fitness too, like you have your friends there, so you have your people that you're going to see and you're going to work out with, and when you're not there, where you're texting each other like, hey, why aren't you here? What's going on?
Yep.
So same thing with
Accountability.
you coming back today. Everybody's like, oh my God, he's back.
Yeah, you can meet some people for the better that could change your life. You never know.
You
Yeah.
know?
100%. Guys, I thank you for jumping on today. We've gone, well, we're just short of an hour. So it's a great conversation full of a lot of great information. You know, they have their handles up there for their Instagrams. But you know, feel free to reach out to them, reach out to us, drop a comment, leave a comment on the podcast, and you know, we'll connect everyone and see what questions can be answered. But with that, again, I thank you both for jumping on here at the beginning of the year and talking about something that's truly very important. And hopefully we can do it again in the near future.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, part 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yep, 100%, 100%.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome, guys.
Nice
This
meeting you,
is
Bob.
guys. This is the At the Coffee Table podcast. Again, like, comment, and share. We'd appreciate it. That's how we're trying to grow this small community. Bob, take it away.
As always, be nice, stay safe, and please laugh a lot.
100%.
Talk to you next time.
Talk next time. Everybody, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a great day.